Welcome to Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religion, hosted by Rabbi Patrick, that's me, and my son, Javon. Spiritual, irreverent, always fearless, produced by Darshan Yeshiva, and you get to see us today. Javon, how you doing?
Fine. On camera looking a mess, because the people wanted to see.
It is what the people wanted to see, but you went from being fine to being fine. So I see that as like some kind of improvement, some kind of change over time.
I guess.
You guess. All right. So excited to have the new camera, have the new setup.
All right. On to serious business.
Serious business.
This is, like I said, podcast deals with a lot of, things. And
right.
Sometimes you have to get serious.
Right.
And I want to talk about, what's going on now in the world. We all know, for those of us, well, I don't say those of us who don't know, because we all
if you're listening to this podcast,
yeah. So, all that unfolded with, earlier in the year and prior year, unfolding of the protests on, campuses, students protesting, Israel's war in Gaza, et cetera, et cetera. And then, we're now with the fallout, from those different, seeing how different places handle this issue. But what I want to talk about is the NYU Law School. And so I'm going to read you the article from Above the Law. NYU Law wants students to sign away their right to protest. New York University Law School has taken a startling turn towards repressing students' protests on campus. According to reporting by The Intercept, 31 students at NYU Law who had previously protested the war in Gaza received notification their, quote, persona non grata, or PGN, at the school, and are barred from using or accessing university facilities. The students participated in a sit-in on March 4th and April 29th outside the office of NYU President Linda Mills' office to boast. Honestly, can't say the name, but the library. In front of the office of the law school dean, the university has barred the students while their conduct is under investigation for failure to comply with public safety directive and disruptive behavior. Quote, the school's policies are vague and arbitrary enough to be wielded in any situation against any kind of speech the university looks down upon, particularly pro-Palestinian speech, end quote, said a law student who received a PGN notification. Quote, the school claims protests are banned in the library, which is conveniently where the main administrative offices, including the office of the president, are located, end quote. While at the protest, the students were handed flyers quoting from the failure to comply and disruptive conduct rules, according to photos reviewed by The Intercept. Quote, the school explicitly outlined sit-ins as permitted, said a second student, but as soon as they don't like a sit-in or protest happening, they tell people to stop. And when they don't, they then hand people policies of failure to comply with orders. So in essence, they are communicating that they can immediately make any protest they want a violation of the rules based on whether they are amendable to the content. Okay, the library sit-in, I'm not reading all that. Honestly, my head hurts. So, more of my point, I'm going to dissect the first part of the article first. Okay, now, we all know that, especially with these universities and how these protests have been going, that, and this is like previous protests too.
Right.
But they do be having like these rules that are just general. And this is what anything,
right?
Really, have these general rules that really aren't specific,
right?
Specific enough to
general rules that aren't specific.
Yeah, general rules that aren't specific, and then it's like it can be interpreted to anything.
Sure.
And then that's why it leaves like the space of,
right.
What does this actually mean?
Right.
And what does this actually go against the rule?
Right.
Because then it's like, oh yeah, the rule is okay, but like, you have to give people examples
Right.
and like be very specific.
Right. You would think in a law school they'd be good at that.
Yeah, like for people who like job it is to like, know the law, review case
Right.
law, you would think, their, laws and policies at the school would be
Right.
like point by point what you
Right.
can and cannot do.
Funny that, yeah.
Yeah, but as far as this, I think this more so, regardless of this, protesting Israel wars in Gaza,
Right.
or whatever the situation may be. I think that events like this highlights the need for universities to specify, and actually like sit back and take the time to be like, look, this is what you can and can't do, when and where you can't do it.
Sure.
And this is how you go about doing it.
Yeah.
So, yes, I want to take that to be a takeaway.
Yeah.
Besides all the hubbub around it, I'm more focused on, not the why they were protesting,
right,
but the university's rules. Because then it seems like they said that they could place it on anything that they don't like.
Sure,
and that could be regardless. Like if it was like a BLM protest, that could have been like, oh, we don't like that, so we're gonna go this way.
Right.
It makes you're saying on one hand that this group of students are uncomfortable, but then what happens to the other group of students?
Sure.
In the world, you're gonna you always have to constant politicking.
Right.
You can't, everyone has rights and you can't usurp someone else's rights to make someone else feel comfortable.
Sure.
So it's like you're in this, you have to find compromise somewhere.
Yeah, that's not something that people believe in anymore.
It's not, but that's how it is. Because then if you go against one side, it's making like, oh, you have a problem with people doing this, or you, and if you don't take it serious, oh, you're not taking it serious enough. So this group of people doesn't matter to you. This part of the student body doesn't matter to you, and then it's like this constant like, and then you're pulled in a place where it's like no matter what you do, but it's like the sticky situation.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's the thing is that if I remember correctly, there are schools that have what they call free speech zones. And it's literally places where it's like you can do anything you want, protest wise. Now you can't like harm people or whatever. But yeah, it's out of the way enough that people can go to class, go about their business, but still your voice can be heard. You don't have the right to interrupt a library. You barely have the right to breathe in a library. Although I have noticed libraries are louder than they used to be. Now that we don't really have books in libraries anymore, it's more like laptops and, like office equipment and stuff. But yeah, but that seems fair to me. It seems fair to say to students, like, you cannot protest inside a library.
I mean, because that's fair,
right?
And
but you can go protest outside.
Yeah, protesting outside.
Yeah,
but like when you're on like main walkways, like say you have a main walkway.
Yeah,
be in the grass of that walkway.
Right, exactly.
Be on the walkway.
Right.
And as it comes to the library, personally, I mean, you're in school and people are coming to the library to like, study and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, if you're going to do a sit-in and you're just quietly sitting in and you're just not moving, I personally don't see a problem with that. As long as you're not being disruptive.
Yeah.
Like, if you just want to sit in.
If you're preventing people from accessing resources, then you would have a problem. Is a chair a resource? I mean, I guess, but you can also like take those books and check them out and go. Go study anywhere. So
so it's like as long as you're not like interrupting like people. Like I get you want to protest outside the dean's office, but what happened if someone like the dean has a meeting or are meeting with certain people? Like I mean, there's only so much. You could go to the dean's private residence and protest on the other side of the street. Right. That's very much that's easy
depending on where the dean lives, I guess.
Yeah, so like you could do that, but like just stay out the way enough, that policies like this can't be like, oh, we're gonna put you in this category. And then, honestly, I think it's like ridiculous. You really name kids like persona non grata? Yeah, that's kind of like you can't touch them. Like they can't be it's kind of like. Yeah, at this point, I do think there should be like a tuition pause in investigations. Because now I feel like you're playing. I can't go to class. I can't sit on exams. Now I feel like I'm just sitting here and you're getting money until the investigation is done. Tuition pause. I can't go to class. Then I need my money back. for my time not spent in class.
Sure. Yeah, how much of this could have been resolved by people just taking a deep breath, thinking about like, okay, we have students who want to protest. Here's where you can. Here's where you can't. It's geographic in nature, and one of those places is in a classroom while people are trying to take a test. Like then we have a problem.
Yeah, but you should specify. That's really easy to do. To be like,
this at a law school.
Yeah, this
at
is where
a law
you can't
school.
Protest, and this is where you can.
Right.
Like if you're in like the quad or something, that anybody can be in there.
Yeah,
you can protest there. But like in like main buildings, like where people are trying to like get to where they're going. Like you have the dean's office, you have the dean of student. You have so many things going on in a main building where like other kids, need to get to.
I can stand out in front of my lawn and hold up any sign I want. I don't get to go into the middle of the street with that sign and interrupt the flow of traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, that doesn't gain you anything. Like you're not going to get something out of this, except for, and this is my only thing about protesters, this is like your thing about regardless of what they believe. I get so tired of protesters who they just want to be with their community of like-minded people and feel something. That drives me bananas because you're not actually accomplishing anything. It's more like cosplaying than it is like the sort of political guerrilla theater that sometimes you do need in order to educate people. And like, the thing about protests too is that like we have the internet now, and this is how we disseminate information about things. Sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. That's a whole other problem. So this idea of if I don't like glue my hands to the floor of whatever, or I don't, chain myself to some, like, no, like, that's not going to get you what you want. What's really going to get you what you want is to run for public office, to start your own university, to like change institutions. That's what really does something. Change institutions.
Yeah. So all these, everyone who's protesting, I assume is going to vote. So there you go.
Yeah. There you go. You're a voting bloc.
You could easily be like, okay, I like this candidate better.
Right.
We're gonna go stomp for this candidate.
Right.
We're gonna go
knock on doors.
Yeah, instead of you're taking the movement of a protest and just putting it into like a political campaign.
Right. Into practical uses.
Yeah, all those people who are going out there and marching could be those people that go and knock on doors. Going to say, here, this is why, I'm here with this person. And this is why, I think there would be a better candidate than the next person.
Right.
And just, instead of using that, and just being like seen, you need to be heard.
Right.
Like, instead of just, because sometimes I do feel like, okay, now, when there's a big protest and then like emotions are high, and then like you do have people who are in protest who really aren't there for that cause, but just want to be there to cause problems. And this, that's a problem that people are dealing with. And just any protest, many a protests have been infiltrated by people who aren't really there for the issue.
Recently, with like people on pro-Israel protests and anti-Israel protests, there are these nut jobs whose whole thing is they want to like cause trouble and then be viral. Like go viral.
Then it's like
narcissism.
I'm not going to excuse anything from people, but I do know, like, once people are in a group and you see a couple people doing something, then, like, you feel encouraged to do something. Yeah. Should you know better? Yes. And, that goes, that speaks more about how much more you need to learn about yourself. And you need to learn, not to follow the leader. You do not be the sheep. You be the shepherd. And you get on out there. And for people who don't know, if you are around while someone's committing a crime, you can be charged with that crime.
That's right.
And as an accessory. Do not be going around. If you see someone doing something, you go opposite of that way. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your mother.
Legal advice.
You go elsewhere. If your mother's throwing a brick through someone's house, you are down the street. I didn't hear nothing about it. I didn't see nothing about it. I don't know nothing about it. Do not be around people causing trouble, because then that goes on you, and then that could upend your whole life. Be smart. If you're going to go to protest, be smart. Don't be trying to get into physical altercations. Just
walk away. Just walk away. Doesn't matter what the person committing the crime thinks about you as a result of you walking away. Just walk away from it.
Exactly. When people are, if you're protesting if you're there for the, good of the cause, then you're not throwing stuff. Right. You're not vandalizing buildings. Right. You're not accosting people. You aren't, doing any of that. You are there for the cause and there for the people that, you're the voice for the people that you feel are voiceless. So be that. When people see a protest getting violent or people are stealing or people are doing this and the third, they automatically write you off as radicals who are just out here to cause nonsense and drama rather than actually, putting forth the cause. So when people go to these protests and are those people that want to go out and destroy stuff and, get in the physical altercation, cause these things, that immediately discredits the entire, protest. And, that may not be fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to take a couple and then apply that to the whole group. But that's what you have to learn. And, when you're protesting, you have to learn that, hey, look, everyone, this is what we're here for. We're not going to do this. If there is trouble, we just don't even engage. Mm-hmm. You have to be very careful and be like, look, this is what we're going to do. And that's why the civil rights protests work. Yeah. They didn't engage. Yep. They just, that's the amount of strength that I don't have. That you're not going to be spitting on me, and I can't do anything. I would just lose my mind. But I digress. But it's how the civil rights, protests work so well. Because it was like, people using their First Amendment right, and then you had, the government coming in and getting violent. Yep. If you want, just don't engage in violence, don't commit violence. Yep. And continue to use your right to protest, use your right to, voice your opinion. But I do feel like everyone who's doing these protests, you can also translate that into, like I said, you don't like that personal political candidate, there's someone else running. That's right. And then, boom, you can be like, okay, we're going to go work with them. We're going to volunteer for their campaign. We're going to, grassroots, get that person that you feel like is a better option and that has your voice and your opinion into office. Mm-hmm. So you can translate all that into protesting into actually helping someone that you feel is best get into office. Yep. I agree. 100%. Yeah. 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 Don't cause a ruckus in school too. Like, just get through school. And then once you're out of school, you can be someone who can elevate in like levels of authority, positions of business, politics, whatever. Don't mess up your life over a cause when you got your whole life ahead of you to like make a huge impact. And for those people who go to these protests with the idea of being violent, that will get people severely hurt. Yep. And that's what no one's here for that. Yep. No one's here to get hurt. So don't be the one that throws the first punch. Don't be the one that, breaks into the, whatever. Stomps on the car, throws the brick at the window, spits on someone, does something. It is just not safe, and it can always escalate to something more serious. Mm-hmm. And you never know. People out here are crazy. You never know. I'll say, you never know what people have in their pockets. You don't know if people have guns, people have knives. You don't know. Yep. Exercise. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be trying to go anywhere in the first place being ridiculous. Right. But you should be aware of that you could seriously get yourself hurt or somebody that you know hurt. Mm-hmm. And you could end up not coming back from that protest. Yep. And I'll finish off with that. I'm with him 100%. Everything he just said, we are not technically giving you legal advice. We are not giving you legal advice, but I'm just saying. We're just giving you life advice. Yes. Don't be around people who are committing crime. Those are not people that you want to be around. Those people will drag you down with them. Yep. You go here, let them go here. Yep, exactly what he said. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.